Alright, timestamp. It is May 16th, 2025. Acorn, knock it off. 3:05 a.m., something like that. I still have the schmutz. That was just for you, Pam. Um, Man. Making progress in the kitchen. Trying to thin the stuff that I'm not going to use. Um, it's looking more and more like Dad is probably not coming home, just from the reports that I'm hearing. Um, he's going to be going into long-term placement. uh, Hear that? Not emphysema. Apparently, God, it's so weird because for a while, like, nothing would happen, and now 24 hours goes by and it's like, look, information. Um, Sarah, we found the Civil War musket. It was not where Chuck nor my dad said it would be, because they both had a different place that it was supposed to be, and it was in a completely new and exciting location. We had Tiny with us today. Pix brought our youngest, and Tiny has hung out with Grandpa a lot and knows a few of his tricks that he may not. My grandpa, my dad doted on Tiny. And my dad's still around; he's still alive. My mom is not. If you're just catching up, she passed a few days ago, and we're trying to get all that worked out. I've had a few people say to me that I'm handling this really well, and I had one the other day that said that, and I almost felt like they were being a little snide, like, you're handling this really well, My mom has been dying in slow motion for 2 years, just like we've been watching my dad's brain break for 2 years. So, everybody under my roof, we've already been through various stages of grief already. You know what I mean? We've already been through some of it. Have I cried? Yes, I have. Because my mom's gone, And much like my dad's brain, I can't fix that. I can't. She's gone. Does it hurt? You better believe it. You better believe it. But I have to take over. I have to lead my family into the next chapter of whatever ridiculous soap opera this is. And it's just how it is. Health check. I'm actually... Okay, this is going to sound stupid. Maybe not. I know that a lot of the BS physical stuff that I was experiencing over the past few months was definitely anxiety. I've got this chest cold thing going on right now. Oh, and that was the other thing I was going to mention. Because Pix got it too. And so did Chuck. So, because Chuck called today and was like, hey man, I've been sick for the past 4 days, ever since we went to the VA. I'm like, okay, we breathed in the wrong fume at the VA, because Pix and I have both been down too. And he's like, well, it's a hospital. I'm like, yeah, I understand what hospitals are. I got it. Thanks, buddy. But yeah, no, we've already been through a lot of the grief part. And we spent a lot of the past 2 years banging our heads against the wall. Because we were telling two stubborn old people, this day is coming. When you're spending over half the year in the hospital, and you're not correcting your ways, you're not actually exercising, you're not actually changing your diet, what exactly do you think the result will be? You know what I mean? And this is something I'm trying not to be bitter about. I try and joke about it because it kind of makes me, it helps me, even though it seems crass. To some, I know, because I see the looks in their eyes and they're like, it's like, okay, fine. So I walked away from a full-time job in 2023 to come to my parents' rescue. My mom just had her first stroke. My dad had already had two, and the dementia was starting to spin out of control. Mom was in the hospital. No one was here watching Dad. And someone needed to be here watching Dad, because he was burning locks off of doors because the burglar changed the locks on him, and then the next day he was swearing that the burglar cut the locks off the door, and he needs keys and new locks, and it was just oy vey. Also for Pam. So my mom in 23 kind of had the idea, the attitude of, you and Pix, you and Kelly understand the modern world better than we do. We need your help. And as we progressed in this family/business relationship, it became very clear to Pix and I, who we've done some mentoring in our days. It became clear to us that the actual thought pattern there was, we want you to make our lives better, but don't change anything. Now, I don't know if you know how that kind of stuff works, but that's not how stuff works. If you want things to improve or change, you must change what you're doing. Whether it's the behavior, the attitude, whatever, you've got to make adjustments. You know what I mean? 2 plus 3 will always equal 5. So if you don't want it to equal 5 anymore, you need to change the 2 or the 3. Or add a new number in there. Do something different with the equation. But otherwise, 2 plus 3, you're going to get 5. It will be 5. And the next day, it's going to be 5. Yeah. And I'm an arts nerd, but I understand the mathematical principle of it. So that caused some problems here and there. So we had started to implement some changes here because in the beginning, make our lives better. Like, my mom had saved, she had restaurant receipts from the early 2000s. Don't really know why. But I know she got mad when we threw them out. Hoarding. So we had made some adjustments here and there because we were attempting to make their lives better. And with dementia, you definitely don't want clutter. Clutter screws with the brain. It makes it harder for a dementia patient to keep track of things. They're more on guard. They think things are missing, stolen, moved more often because it's just, there's no pattern. It's just, a sea of chaos, which doesn't help because they're trying to find the order and the reason. And it's just really not a way to live. You know what I mean? When you've got a pathway that leads to your desk. And that's the only place you can actually go in this room, is from the door to the desk, because there's piles of stuff creating a Charlton Heston Red Sea. Truth. So, what I'm getting at here is in the kitchen, because they didn't really use the kitchen exactly, because they were mostly going out to eat and doing microwave dinners, cheating their way around not having a good diet. Because I had been cooking for them. I'm a fairly good cook. But I was attempting to follow, like my mom had. It's going to take some getting used to. Renal issues, kidney issues, heart issues, lung issues, diabetic. So there were certain... You would think that, like, vegetables, there's no bad vegetable for somebody trying to be healthy. Actually, there are certain vegetables that aren't necessarily good for certain organs. And somebody with, kidney issues, there's, 12 vegetables that are great for them. And there are 12 vegetables that are a really rotten idea. So I was trying to kind of find that, okay, you've got kidney issues. These 12, they're off the menu. These 12 on the menu, but these two aren't necessarily good if you're diabetic. This one isn't really good for heart issues. It's like Tony Stark, playing with the chart. But I managed to figure out certain things that would work really well for her diet, certain things that she could have a little bit of, but not a huge amount. Certain things that she should have a huge amount of, because they were good for all of it, So I was pretty much getting her diet where it needed to be. I'm not a dietitian, but I've got a fair amount of experience in the kitchen. I've done restaurant work, and I can research. Pix actually did the research on this. She basically handed me a little notebook and said, "This is your Bible." And I went, "Oh, okay." And I looked it over and I said, "Okay, so I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. I shouldn't do that at all, And I put a game plan together. She was not happy with it on occasion. I remember one occasion, and please don't think that I'm trying to speak ill of the dead. This is just so that you understand. Sweet potatoes. In my opinion, proof that God loves us. Sweet potatoes are a beautiful thing. And I had chopped up a bunch of sweet potatoes, cleaned them, made basically like, big hush puppy size, like golf ball maybe size sweet potato pieces. And I had baked them with a little bit of honey, some nutmeg, whatnot. I didn't want to overload with the honey because sugar, diabetic. But I knew Dad would love it, and Dad didn't have a lot of the health issues that I had to worry about with Mom. So I had like 3 of those little golf balls on Mom's plate, along with, I think I'd baked some Italian chicken or something that night. It was a good meal. Some beets, something else, I forget what was on there, but it was a nice balanced meal. No chocolate cake, nothing crazy stupid. Good stuff that would actually work within her various health conditions. And she looked at the sweet potatoes, she tried one. She was like, "Oh, this is amazing." I said, "Fuck you, Chef loves hearing that kind of thing." And she looked at the amount that was on her plate and said, "But that's not going to cut it." And I was like, "Okay. Alright, so we're going to have this come to Jesus now." Okay. I said, "Mom, honestly, I shouldn't have given you 3. Because of some of the stuff that's in it. I should have capped it at 1 and made it like a dessert treat kind of thing. Because of what, the bucket that you have of health conditions." And she's like, "But I like food." I said, "That's cool. but I'm already going a little bit beyond what I should be doing to maintain a healthy diet for you. And she said, well, I don't care about that. I was like, well, I do. And one of the things that you charged me with was putting together a diet that would keep you alive. And she said, but I like food. And I want more than this. I said, Mom, you're asking me to basically give you poison. That's the way it feels. That's the way it felt. You know, it's like you're saying, please poison me. And she's like, this is what I want. I don't want to live by such a strict diet that I'm not enjoying my meals. And I said, okay. So for you, this is a quality of life issue? And she said, yeah. Yeah, it really is, because food is probably one of my favorite things. And I said, okay. I'm going to be lenient on the diet, but I'm not going to be lenient on Jinx, who is on my counter. Mr. Jinx. I have one of my cats with me now. I don't have Hex here yet, but Jinx is here. That guy, who should not be on the counter, he's fascinated with running water, so he's discovered where the sink is in his house. Jinx, get down. Thank you. He's a very smart cat. And I said, you know what, Mom? I will... I don't like this, but I will make you the food that you want. Within reason. Because for you, what you eat is actually a quality of life issue. Understand that you and I both need to know moving forward that when I say it's a bad idea and you say do it anyway, you are acknowledging that you are asking me to give you something that is not good for you. And as long as we move forward with that understanding, that you are essentially saying, please poison me, and I'm saying I really don't want to, and you're saying, no, I insist. As long as we move forward with that understanding, clear-eyed, I'll do it. And my hands are clean because these are your choices. She said, I understand that. Please honor my wishes on this. I was like, man, you don't want to get an order like that. You know? But then a couple months later, we got accused of breaking in and robbing the safe. And I had a door slammed in my face. So that, me poisoning her got cut short, and she just went full bore into, you know, the restaurant scene or what have you, and poisoned herself willy-nilly. True stories. Which is why I know last time I said something, I don't know, I think last time I said something, I mentioned that I had thrown out about $1,000 in food. Simple joys. Oh, and Roku, Doctor Who channel. Tiny and I actually were sorting a bunch of stuff in the living room yesterday, and we did a Daredevil Season 1 marathon. Seen it before, but I haven't seen Born Again yet. I'm excited about that. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to walk through the first seasons again, because there's nothing bad about it. You know what I mean? It's like, that's worth watching again. Although I was annoyed with the treatment of a Daredevil secondary character. From a spoiler standpoint, it's been out for a while. It's been out for over 10 years, I can probably say this. I didn't like the shortness of Urich's tenure on the show. Because having been a Daredevil reader, and I haven't read in several years, but being a Daredevil reader from the 80s, Um, Ben Urich, and I don't care that they did uh, a race swap or whatever that's even called. Totally cool with it, man. Um, Ben Urich has, at least to date, had a really long lifespan within the Marvel universe. So the cutting short of his career on the show kind of annoys me a little bit. But that's petty. Other than that, y'all are doing everything right. Harry and David breakfast blend. I've got some coffee here. One thing that we did do over the past 2 years, because again we saw this date coming, is I've got a ton of boxes, like pre-packed with some supplies here and there. Not canned food, because I knew that could go bad. Um, the annoyance is real. All right, so we're gonna go on a little walk. Nothing crazy. Whoa, I'm in 3D. It's good coffee and it helps the throat because, damn, this stuff has been making me cough. So, that is a Jinx. That is an Acorn. Hi. You're going to hear me call him Scrappy. You're going to hear me call him Acorn. His birth name is Acorn. His whole litter was named after trees or tree-like things. Like he had a sister named Maple, a brother named Chestnut. Mama was a Beagle. Daddy, we are pretty sure, was a German Shepherd. So he's kind of a short shepherd-ish. But bringing him home and whatnot, a few weeks into it, my youngest and my wife both were like, he looks like Scrappy-Doo. So he's got two names. I call them both. And he does kind of look like Scrappy. He looks like a young Scooby. Alright. Well, we were entering the garage. Sorry about that. Whoa. Remember, you want the red and the blue. Then you can see that better. It's not as blurry. So, oh, good God. These are the extra fridges and freezers. That one's the one that had the, because I know I mentioned this, the eggs from October and November that were in the fridge in the kitchen that got moved out to here to hide it from the DCF. So we put 3 more months of life on eggs that had already been expired for 4 months, 5 months. That should be okay. They keep so well. So this is funny to me because I showed this to my buddy that I've been working with for years and years, Bob. Let me turn that. That's my foot. I have an acorn standing in my foot. So you'll hear me refer to him as Bob. You'll hear me refer to him as Q. When I started working at the place, there were 2 Bobs. One had a last name that began with P. One had a last name that began with Q. So no one ever really called them Bob. They were called P and Q. So, and it was funny because I still really, honestly, I call him Q most of the time. And one day he was like, you know, why don't you call me Bob? Because the other Bob is gone now. He got his own store. And I said, well, I'll tell you. I have known a gazillion Bobs. Some of them were, you know, righteous. Some of them were evil. But I've only known one Q. And the individuality of that, I mean, you're already a special man. But the individuality of being the only Q, I'm going to keep calling you Q unless you tell me not to. And he was like, you know what? That's the best answer I've ever heard. Call me Q until we die. I'm like, all right. He's one of my best friends. I trust him with my life. So, Q frequently stocks foods. That's kind of his department. It's like retail. People typically have a department that they stock. If your store is running effectively, if your store is not running effectively, and I've seen this happen a lot, especially with Milton shutting down our store and us being transferred everywhere, when people don't actually have assigned departments, they don't understand the nuances of the department, and they usually wind up looking like dog shit. So it's good to have your people actually have. They can have a couple of departments that they sometimes help out in, but having a home department, really smart. Like for me, I'm usually toys and stationery. That's kind of my gig. But I can do anything. When I was a manager before, I did snacks, which that sounds so simple. Oh. Anywho, so I showed Q pictures of this, and he was like, "That is a fine looking pantry. That is. Did your dad do that?" I'm like, "No, I did that." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, well, you can tell the retail edge, whatnot." And then I said, "In 2023," and he went, "Oh dear God." And I asked him, I'm like, "So do you think I'm gonna have to?" You're okay, Jinx. Do you think I'm gonna have to throw some of those out? And he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to throw some of those out." I was like, "All right." I already knew that. I was just messing with him. Let's see, Progresso soup, which I never really got into. May 2024. Have to check still tasty, because some of that might actually still be okay to eat. But if it is still okay to eat, it probably needs to get eaten right the hell now. Because this stuff can, you don't want to poison yourself. And I'm not advocating anyone to poison themselves. Chicken broth that expired. Now, it is best if used by, which is kind of like an expiration. October of 2023. Absolutely not. That is an ER visit. Guys. Yeah, Tiny spent part of the day tunneling because there were boxes stacked up everywhere. Tunneling to here. I said I wanted. The question was, what can I do to help? I said, get me to the pantry shelves. So, effort was made. Carrots. Canned carrots. April 2025. Yes, I'm aware it's May 2025. Those are probably very much still good, but they need to get eaten the hell now. Sliced pears. I love pears. August 2024. Also probably eat them the hell now. So, where this story was leading, I know. Oh, coffee. January 24. You're probably, coffee tends to keep pretty well. Maybe a little stale. We'll figure that out. Threw out $1,000 in food already. Probably going to be throwing away another $1,000 worth of food, because there's more than just this, which this is average retail price of you got 4 rows deep ish, 5 rows deep in some places, 2 tall in some places. There's 2, 3, 400 canned goods plus box. There's probably $1,000 in groceries on this shelf, or on these shelves, because there's more down here that you just can't. You wouldn't be able to see if I did anything fancy with the camera. Hello. It's a jack-o'-lantern candle. How cool! Be cool, Acorn. This is the fridge, and there's a whole lot of stuff in this fridge that. An incredible smell you've discovered. That came from the fridge in the kitchen. Maybe not as lethal as the eggs, but it's got a afterburn going on there. I know there was some some packs of beef, like lunch meat beef and stuff like that. If it has a September, October, November date, even December, January, we're in May. Could be looking at, big, fat, hairy, ugly death. This freezer went down, and they've been using it as a dry pantry. It's got a funky smell, too. Let's take a look. I bet some chicken broth. Chicken broth is great, man. It has an incredibly non-existent shelf life. Some jars of sauerkraut down there. Yum, 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 yum. And a whole bunch of Ensure. I bet this is some of the stuff that I picked up for Mom back in 23. I haven't even looked at this yet. I need a date. Where are you? Oh, okay. October 2024. I'm gonna have to look that up, but I have a feeling because the protein shakes, they don't really recommend going too far past their date. Again, stilltasty.com is a good site. Man, that's a shame. Look at that. There's 10, 20, 30 shakes. They're like about $2 each, I think, right? $1.50, $2 each. If you buy them in like 12 packs. That's a shame. Wasteful. I hate waste. I hate waste for the sake of waste. You know what I mean? Nah. And it's not even, I mean, it's partially about the money, you know. But honestly, it's just about waste. You know what I mean? Somebody could have used that. And instead, it was just stored here so that it could be thrown away. Hurts the soul, man. You know, growing up, us Gen Xers, no, you don't get raw creamer, Acorn. That's not how this works, sir. Got my PC set up on the bar over here now, so I can actually do a little bit more damage. Yeah, you can see, I think, the butt of my monitor. But us Gen Xers, yes, I am Gen X. Beware my fury. We saw commercials growing up all the time, and I'm laughing because of how it was just every time you turned around, man. About the starving children in Ethiopia. I think South Park has even made some jokes about it over the years. But it did get at least some of us thinking about the idea, we do waste a lot of damn food over here, don't we? Because we do. But yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm like, $2,000 in groceries that could be dangerous to eat now. Really? How long would that feed your fam? Yeah. Yeah, it would keep my house of wolves fed for 4 months, 5 months. It's a shame. Yeah, and I don't really feel like putting anybody's small intestine at risk, you know? No. Because anytime you do anything like that, it's a gamble. With a lot of it, canned vegetable, canned fruit, if it's like a month past Best Buy expiration and whatnot, it's probably okay. Probably. But look it up. Because there's some stuff that actually has a really aggressive degradation rate. And some stuff that might be good for a year past its shelf. Look it up. There's quite a few reputable websites out there that won't get you killed. So don't take my word for anything. I don't know anything. Mama said I'm not real smart. But yeah, there's a lot of there's some okay food there, and there's some trips to the ICU there. The eggs are gone though. Unbelievable. Anyway, so we got Mom's celebration of life pretty much, we think, set. And tomorrow morning, Trip goes to the vet because he's rough. He's the 12-year-old Chihuahua. Pix is going to get him to the vet. And I have a couple phone calls to make now that we've got the date better established. I didn't want to call people and say, hey, my mom passed. Is there a ceremony? Yeah. When is it? You know what I mean? I want to be able to kind of get it done with one phone call because I don't want to have to keep calling people back regarding a subject like this because I don't even want to talk about it. So yeah, showing you a little bit of the disaster zone. That's part of one room. Drop bucket. This place is terrifying. This is going to take me 2 years. Yeah. I won't be bored. And I did stockpile some money, whatnot, so I'm hoping to make a purchase or two. I'm not going to buy a pin. I can't justify if I make some sales on some stuff that we've got to sell, not their stuff because I can't claim their stuff, but we've got some high priced items we're going to be selling here in the near future. We've just been so busy with everything else we haven't had a chance to market it. If I'm able to turn some serious cash in the next few months, I might get a pin. But there are a couple of other cheaper options that I can justify with what we've got stockpiled, and probably not yet beaten to death with a shoe. Anyway, I'll explain and show you when it happens. Make it a great day.